Uh, a very warm welcome and good afternoon to everyone of present here. And today, with the topic of digital platform infrastructure, how it's uh, making significant contribution to creating the access to credit, insurance, and e-commerce uh, to the rural hinterland and to promote the rural ecosystem. Uh, to have a very insightful discussion, we have with us in the panel Mr. Anil, founder and MD Vivifi India Private Limited. Mr. Rajat Agarwal, CBO Enterprise Fintech Assets, uh, Paynearby. Mr. Timmana, founder and CEO What's Loan. Mr. Manjunatha HS, President and CEO Integra Microsystem. And Mr. Praveen Choudhary, Lead Amazon India Initiatives, ONDC. Welcome you all, and I am Mohammad Zaidi. I lead the social consulting practice in Grand Thornton, Bharat, which includes working with various state governments, development financial institutions, multilateral agencies, and other stakeholders in the entire ecosystem. To begin with, we'll have the first round of discussion in terms of the kind of success stories and the kind of best practices that each one of your institution or each one of you have evolved over a period of time in order to improve the digital ecosystem. So I'll request Mr. Anil to start with in terms of what are the best practices, tech being involved, and few examples if you could elaborate a little bit more on that.
First up, thanks for having me here. And summits like these don't happen very often in Hyderabad. So thank IMI for conducting this in Hyderabad. And for everybody who's outside Hyderabad, welcome to our beautiful city. So, Vivifi, we are very much focused on lending and lending to the underserved and unserved segments. And we have been a very prominent user of the digital public infrastructure that India has provided for us to be able to offer lending to these underserved and unserved communities within India. And when we are talking about the underserved communities, we are talking about people with low income, below 30,000 rupees. We are talking about people who are from tier 2, tier 3 cities, people who are in informal employment. And all of these segments of population have been outside the formal institutional credit system. And we have been able to use various digital public infrastructure, starting from Aadhaar, where we have used it when available for eKYC, subsequently for your entire e-sign. We have been able to use the UPI infrastructure, which is a tremendous game changer for India, and the digitization of the Indian economy has been UPI-led, and we have been using UPI both for, to a certain degree, credit delivery, but more importantly, credit collections. We have been able to use several other platforms which India has provided. And one of the recent ones we have started to work with is the initiative from the Reserve Bank Innovation Hub, which is on ULI. In fact, we were a part of the pilot with the Reserve Bank Innovation Hub, where we focus primarily on gig worker. It's a very new economy that is one of the largest employment providers for India today, but the access to credit to those individuals is almost non-existent, especially if you're talking about unsecured credit. And we have been able to build an infrastructure which brings data from disparate gig platforms in partnership with the Reserve Bank Innovation Hub, and put together all of that data and are able to offer credit to these completely segment of consumers who never had any credit. So at a very high level, these are some of the examples that where we have been able to either participate in creating digital public infrastructure or leverage digital public infrastructure to offer credit, which is our main line of business, to the largely underserved segments.
Thank you. So very quickly going to Manjunatha ji. In terms of the kind of, some of the best things that have been evolved by your organization, I believe you are, one of the leading LPs in the entire ecosystem. But, your benefits or what we have observed that there are few segments or few regions which are still untouched and still underpenetrated. So, what are the ways in which you think we will be able to have that kind of a coverage? DPIs, especially, in regions like JNK, northeastern regions. Yeah.
Yeah. So good afternoon, and thank you for having me here. So I think if you just recap the DPI story itself, I think probably we are all very proud, probably this generation. India has contributed the DPI probably on par with any of the world thing, probably after internet. So the DPI work, what in India has happened, actually it was a perfect blend, which actually given us lot of thinking, lot of innovation one can do, and lot of opportunity. Before that, let me tell you what we saw last 10, 12 years, when the DPI in form of identity, the core project started, once Aadhaar has been issued, if you really look at the multiple DPI layers have emerged. From the identity, you have the payment layers in terms of Aadhaar enabled payment, UPI, Bharat bill payment. Then you have a lot of data collecting, part of this DPI, that is eKYC and eSign. Then now I think we are talking about RBH coming with a ULI, ONDC for e-commerce. So all these DPIs, I think at least in my lifetime, whenever we associate it with any of the government, see, in India, the DPI is a collective work from government, it's government-backed initiative, and then you have a lot of private participation. And the initial days, whatever the teams, part of UIDA and build the DPI, so they also form something called India Stack, which layered all these DPIs as a consolidated DPI layer, which is allowing us to carry out a lot of paperless, cashless, faceless activity. So, and then adding to that, I think first we could see that in India, the political will, intervention from the regulators to change the process to facilitate various segments to use the DPI. So definitely the DPI infrastructure, what India has in terms of identity, payment, and data empowerment, can bring a lot of opportunities, a lot of problems what we are talking in rural India, both in terms of credit. In fact, we were early entrants from Integra, where we participated in financial inclusion from 2006 onwards. So today, we have our own network, pan-India, as well as technology stack, which runs in bank, where unimaginable the amount of Jandan accounts, JAM program, how, with what ease the accounts got opened. Now, we are also venturing into small credits into the same rural area. Again, for you, you need not invent. Your invention is only how best you can use the existing DPI platform. And beauty of all this DPI is it's a API driven. You can invent some application. That application can directly connect with the DPI infrastructure, and you can carry out your activity. So definitely, as we proceed, we have few points with the DPI. How this penetration at rural for credit, insurance can be further enhanced. At the same time, the biggest problem, the biggest challenge, what we have in rural India is their digital footprints. Whenever you want to use any of these automation, the amount of digital footprints the rural India customers are having very poor. Though we have a very good AA framework in place, still it is not extended to the cooperative banks or the rural customers. That's something gap. Probably as we proceed in the next round, we want to touch upon that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very quickly, going to Mr. Praveen Choudhary from ONDC. Praveen ji, primarily ONDC has given a kind of a platform to people residing in rural areas, a kind of a marketing platform to sell their products, which otherwise, was not possible. But what we have seen, we work with a lot of rural communities as a part of our project, ongoing project, whereas SRLMs, State Rural Livelihood Missions, the amount of coverage of people or people who have, or SHG women to, for that matter, is around 70 to 80% those who have mobiles. 30 to 50% use some sort of a digital payment for paying things. And this is completely primary study. I'm not quoting any other study. This is through various interactions. However, the e-commerce is only amounts to 5 to 10%. Even digital payment is up to 30 to 50%. Any views on that, and how ONDC is working to change that kind of a scenario at the moment? Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me here. So, we have already created a lot of DPIs to solve complex problem, and currently we are using like Aadhaar, UPI, couple of them, right? Next set of DPI at ONDC, what we are creating is that how to give an easy access to the grassroots level to get into the e-commerce. Currently, if you'll see the e-commerce schema at the country, only 6 to 7%, the way he is highlighting, that only that level of participation is there. The prima facie reason is access to the market as of now. Either it is very capital intensive, you need to make a big brand, big platform, big technology sort of thing and all, or you need to have a multiple entities into it, like a payment is one of them, marketing is one of them, having right sort of packaging, logistic is one of them. So e-commerce is bundled with multiple such steps, right? So at ONDC, what we are trying to do is democratizing or decentralizing or unbundling the various aspects of e-commerce. One part is bringing the buyer, another part is bringing the seller on the platform, another part is payment, another part is logistics. So at the rural or grassroots level, if you'll see, there are a lot of challenges in terms of awareness and in terms of how to sell in the e-commerce world. The way we sell at the shops is very different from the way we sell at the e-commerce world, right? There are 2-3 major challenges at this point in time. One of them is cataloging and packaging. The e-commerce type of packaging is very different, where you have to give all sort of information in a way that a customer can read and can purchase by understanding that this product belongs to this and that. Instead of the way in the shop, a shopkeeper explains us that this is what my product is, and people will buy regardless of what sort of packaging is. So one part is packaging and cataloging. So we are lacking infrastructure at the rural level at this point in time, clicking the right sort of image for that product so that it becomes sellable and marketable. Second part is logistic. Our urban logistic is quite strong. We have a lot of players in the country and all, but when it comes to the rural part of it, picking of the shipment from the rural area is a challenge as of now. And we are solving it by integrating multiple players who are solving for that particular reason and all on the ONDC, and that's how we are promoting logistic part of it. Third part which comes is trust. So there are already big brands and everything is available and people have trust on them. But if a product or produce is coming from the farmer, the problem and challenge is the traceability and building trust that actually it is coming from that place and this. And that's what we are trying to solve in the Amazing India program. At ONDC, we started Amazing India program to address all these challenges at the grassroots level. Just to give you an example, recent example, a seller who used to sell some SKUs in 6 months, he got the similar sale in just one day. It's just in 15, 17 days back example. So that's how we are trying to transform and get the e-commerce to the grassroots level and to the last person in the country, that if they would want to sell their product, they can reach, they can connect with ONDC. One more thing about the ONDC. ONDC is being perceived as a platform or sort of thing. It's not a platform. It's a collection of platforms in a way. It's a digital infrastructure highway kind of thing for the e-commerce, where various players are getting connected You are good at certain things, just do that thing, connect with the platform, and remaining all elements of the e-commerce will be available and accessible to you. So instead of it is in digital mall, it's more over connecting and collection of thousands of shops and thousands of different players into a single platform where they are providing a specific segment service of these various steps of the e-commerce. That's where we are as of now.
Thank you. Thank you, Praveenji. And quickly going to Mr. Rajat Agarwal. Rajatji, Paynearby, I was just going through your website. I think 20,000 pin codes you say that you cater to. And the target is also to reach out to around 50 million households or, users, something like that. What I also would like to understand, what has been your success factor that you were able to reach out to 20,000 pin codes? And what are the best practices that you have evolved over a period of time, which is replicable and scalable in order to have better penetration across the ecosystem? Yeah.
I think since this session is more about the DPI and the ease of technology which is being given, largely what we're trying to focus is the gap between the access and the usage. So now today we speak about ULI, we speak about account aggregator, we speak about the ONDC, we speak about other such platforms. But now just give me a small example. Aadhaar is there almost now with every Indian. Broadly, a lot of accounts got opened. Internet is exploding in terms of the usage. But still, if I have to just look at from now a usage point of view, how many accounts like Jandan, we spoke in some previous sessions, how many Jandan accounts get opened? How many debit cards have expired? Is the real financial empowerment, which means while UPI has been introduced, how many transactions are happening on UPI in the rural part of India? We spoke about this session around empowering rural innovation. The true empowerment will come when all the transactions across the financial ecosystem are digitized and are actually being leveraged through all these various kind of platforms, various kind of DPIs which have been created. That is where we want to create that layer trust of human interface, because we believe strongly that a lot of these communities, especially the rural communities, they require a human interface, a human touch to create that bharosa, to create that trust, to create that engagement, which helps them. A small example, maybe I'm sure a lot of us in this room would have seen, we would help our seniors, parents, grandparents, to get them enrolled on UPI. While a lot of us, they would be very keen, but there would be a slight hesitation. There would be slight variation. If this is safe, how can I go about it? That is where we believe, while all the entire technology stack, we are very, very well placed. Somewhere that layer of human interface, human engagement, coupled with technology to create the impact at scale, will actually make an impact to the last mile. And that is what we are attempting to do at Paynearby, empowering 1.5 million touch points in 20,000 plus pin codes. Just to give you since you mentioned about a pin codes, we have outlet in Andaman Nicobar also. So just in case anybody of you plan a holiday there in Andaman, you can always go and access the services. Now, I'll just further upon the point of trust. I'm sure we all know about DBTs. Government give DBTs to farmers, to women, and to other special categories they keep on giving. The DBTs goes into the bank account of the beneficiary. हाथ में हम देते हैं उसको. Because through these outlets, through these 1.5 million touch points, almost 13% of the total DBTs which get disbursed in the country are being given to the beneficiaries. And that creates the rail of trust. कि पैसा मुझे हाथ में यहाँ पे आ रहा है. During COVID times, I remember, we were amongst the very, very few outlets which were operational. People have seen how effectively, how efficiently they are able to deliver it when it is most required. And I think that is the power of scale, that is the power of network what we are attempting to create to ensure the financial empowerment, a true financial empowerment through digitizing, not only by giving them service, but to create the entire ecosystem for at the last mile.
That's a very nice insight that you have given. And moving on to Mr. Gaur, Mr. God, what I have realized is among all the participant here, your firm is primarily a lot of invested in agri stack and agri lending. I believe that is something which I also have come to understand. And you also have mentioned that there are things which are related to Digital Personal Data Protection Bill Act, which has come, and how it's going to impact the entire ecosystem. A little bit, if you could elaborate a little bit more on that, these two things, how they are going to get affected.
Yeah, we started with the identity. I think the Aadhaar was the identity. Then the primary objective was to identify every person for the purpose of delivering direct benefit transfers.
Yeah.
And followed by Jan Dhan accounts, because to deliver something there was to be an end point, not delivering physically but digitally, right? That necessitated the DPIs, and one of the first followed DPI was a DigiLocker, which consolidated all the information, data and the documents, right? So we are one of the beneficiaries as a fintech. We are one of the beneficiaries in 2019. We approached DigiLocker and we said we want to be the requester. We can't give you data, but we want to take data. And we were one of the first exception made by the government that a private enterprise like this, a startup, can access. Actually, they wrote it for us, followed by Zerodha. One of the best beneficiary of the DigiLocker is Zerodha today. They could cut their cost from 200, 300 rupees per account to 20 rupees per account, for example. That is the story of Zerodha. So this, then when you come to DPI, and it stopped there. DPIs are not openly available to private sector, agri-tech. I think previous panel spoke about it. They're not available, and it's getting stricter and stricter, and DPDP is going to kill it. And, DPDP Act and rules, if you read, they're also going towards making the public permission data as a private permission data. I'm just waiting that if we're going to argue and we're going to go through FCC, IAMI, and we will represent, because I'm a banker and I've been traveling that path. We are one of the first fintechs to work with the RBIH on ULI. So there is a DPI, there is a platform, but data is not clean at all. You can't even match Aadhaar name with the land record name, because land record name was very casual while transferring the land by gift or by inheritance or whatever. The Aadhaar is the cleanest because you had to do it. And followed by PAN record, PAN number record, is because otherwise you can't file a IT return. If you're not filing, if you're just a farmer, you're making a PAN, you don't care whether these match or not. They're still not matching. Voter ID, that getting better recently, about 90% plus is accurate. So DPI is actually I say government is faster than anybody. They're so fast that the banks and we are not able to consume that fast. More than that, and it's only given to the regulated entities. You have to be regulated entity to consume any data, including AgriStack. I can't consume. I can't consume directly. I have to go to a bank, bring a letter to RBH, and then they'll give me a thing. That means I'm just a servant. I'm nobody. So agri-techs and fintechs will be deprived of innovation because of this. We are standing behind a regulated entity. We can't do. See, there is tons of good DPI, tons of data. Okay, not clean. We are cleaning it up. What is missing is e-commerce is easy because we don't have the miles. We don't have the roads to go. We are going digitally, but finally you have to deliver the product, right? That's what he's talking about, urban and rural divide. Credit is the hardest to deliver because unless you prove a person is a person, asset is an asset, transaction is a transaction, and your behavior past, present and future expected, you can't give money. I'm a banker, so I'm talking strict on that. Insurance inclusion, that hardships of all of this. For example, I'll give an example of Kisan credit card. We took an average of 1 lakh, was reported by NABARD. It had 10% cost to the farmer to reach the bank for a loan. Took 3 to 6 months to get that loan. With RBIH, we have solved it for 3 to 5 minutes at no cost to the farmer. And when the bank was spending 2-3% to process that what was brought to the bank, it's come down to 0.2 to 0.3%. So what we have done is cost is reduced by 99%. The turnaround times have come from weeks to minutes. It's not more than 15 minutes today. So I'm saying that we have benefited, but we are also quite restricted. Like we are not able to lay our hands on the data the way it is. Today I say that between a person who is giving a permission, digital or physical permission, and who is receiving, I've got a commercial purpose or benefiting the giver. I don't know which law comes in between and stops it, but there are regulations which says you have to define the purpose, take for that purpose, delete the data, can't upsell, cross-sell and all that. I think we will learn along the way, but DPDP has really put a lot of things at a hard
I'm
place.
sure, I mean, if DPP is in shape, it is being done through a consultative process, and I'm sure, as you rightly said, along the way, things will get more clear, and we will adopt to the new realities over a period of time. We'll have just second round of discussion, and maybe we can conclude, but this we'll try to do it a bit faster. Very quick question and very pointed question to you, Anilji. You are an NBFC, and what we have seen, a fintech firm has a very strong footprint and presence across India. We, as a consulting firm, work across every, in every region, everywhere. What we have really understood is reaching out to the underserved and the most deserving ones who do not have much credentials. While it is on paper, there are a lot of agencies who claim, but actually the agencies or the firms or REs, they tend to hesitate to lend to them. Especially when we are talking about regions like J&K, where when we are working in northeastern states. What is it that is the challenge? What are the barriers? It is the economies of operation or understanding of the local ecosystem. And what are the suggestions you want to make to improve the penetration of fintech to deliver credit, insurance, and other related products? Over to you.
Yeah, I think it's a very pertinent question because you're very much right. Like in India, several regions are excluded from inclusion, several customer segments are excluded from inclusion. But I proudly say that we are present in 18,000 pin codes. We have customers in Jammu and Kashmir. We have customers in Northeast. As my friend Rajat from Paynearby said, we also have a customer in Andaman and Nicobar. And we have been able to deliver it using the digital stack we have built. We have inherited a lot from the digital public infrastructure that enabled us to deliver it. But the reason we have been able to deliver is not because the DPI exists. DPI exists for everyone. The reason we have been able to deliver is because we had the intent to deliver. That is the biggest thing that one needs to have, that you need to have a strategic intent to make a difference. And for us, one of which is obviously we wanted to make a difference and serve the underserved segment, but also we have an NBFC, we are a regulated entity. Timmana mentioned about the kind of class differentiation between regulated versus fintech. We have a fintech DNA. Because we have a fintech DNA, but we are also a regulated entity, we have been able to serve where the traditional regulated entities, your large banks, large NBFCs, have deterred to serve. So there was a hesitancy because, various factors, a lot of which is legacy more than anything else. And in my mind, if we put our minds to it and if we have the strategic intent, that itself is the biggest barrier to cross. And we have been prime examples of how you can cross that barrier and deliver meaningful services. And I would urge everybody, and a lot of people are solving for here, to deliver that service. So that intent exists. I also kind of share some of the concerns that Timmana mentioned about DPDP, how effectively it should be implemented and not. But I would just urge Timmana to consider also becoming a regulated entity. If because that's another way to give access, right? Like the intent should translate into action. So sometimes we have to take that leap, and we took that leap, and we have been able to deliver the services. So I mean, the same should hold true for others.
Yeah. I think that's the word intent is the key word out here. Over to you. In terms of integration of delivery of financial products, yes, we have been able to achieve transactions in terms of savings, in terms of cash dispensation and other stuff. But when it comes to enterprise development, like business loans and other more complicated kind of transactions, are we able to achieve that through DPIs which exist right now, especially to the rural communities? And if not, what are your recommendations and what are your suggestions to make it more palatable?
See, beauty of DPI is it democratizes. Whether you are urban, whether you are a rural, you are the beneficiary of the DPIs. I mean, when you talk about identity, so everybody, whether rural or urban, he gets an Aadhaar number. That Aadhaar can be used and given to prove your identity in many for many activities. So the point what I want to make is when really you put the context of rural and the DPI, see the highway is ready. Definitely, I just want to give some small numbers. The more than 560 million rural customers are insured under PM Jan Dhan Yojana, that is PMJDY, PMSBY, and probably half of them are already enrolled on APY. So the point is, even what Timmana mentioned, definitely the intervention, policy intervention of the government will leverage the DPI, can be innovatively used at rural areas. Definitely credit is one thing which actually it has to take care of both borrower and lender. So you have different dimensions there. But again, when some scheme like PM Swanidhi, when Government of India rolled out, I think they have done on a click of a button. They've extensively used the e-sign, and I think we associated with multiple banks. At a click of a button in a mobile app, they were getting the loan. They're getting the 20,000, 50,000 loans with e-signed and under the PM Swanidhi scheme. So the limited point what I want to make is the DPIs are the great things what happened in India. It is well thought concept, where it's not just an infrastructure, it's a concept. And innovators can, get into those concepts and invent a lot of things, especially in the rural. The point, if you really look at one for the credit, what we are lacking in rural area is their digital footprints.
Yeah.
Right? So probably we need to push more and more UPI kind of transaction, share those UPI transaction history through an EAA, or in fact, you all surprised, there are more than 1.2 lakh crores being in the saving accounts of Jan Dhan accounts. That's a huge sum. Similarly, the number of transactions they do on AEPS or UPI, if that increases multifolds, those data points can be used to come out with a very specific framework where lending can be further leveraged on the rural thing. More than that, what really we require is, I think, what the country is already working is a DPI and EAI actually. So that probably further democratizes, brings a lot of convenience to rural folks, especially farmers, on getting a lot of information on their fingertips, either through their own mobile phone or the infrastructure, whatever already built. So in a nutshell, whatever Rajat from Paynearby told, or we ourselves, last 10 years, when the DPI is slowly rolled out and the highway was ready, lot of companies like us and Paynearby and many have created lot of local infrastructure. It is not that when he says you can do a transaction in Andaman Nicobar, it's just not a transaction point. It is an individual who has some understanding of basic banking, and he also carries some instruments, some IT stuff. So you imagine once all these three DPI, identity, payment, and data empowerment, adding to that AI comes, I'm sure it going to immensely help farmers to access lot of data
Yeah.
for credit as well as their own farming needs. So
Perfect.
that way, I am very bullish. The kind of work, whatever is happening under DPI, probably the regulators' intervention to tweak the policies when it comes to rural, that could see not the linear growth, expansion growth, even in credit insurance at rural India.
Perfect. Thank you. Um, Praveen ji, ONDC, from that perspective, what are your suggestions or kind of recommendations to the both state government or central government to have better policies or schemes around promotion of ONDC? Like it is being dovetailed through one of the programs which we are implementing, raising and accelerating MSME performance, which is being implemented across many states. Are there many more platforms, schemes, where or programs which can be also leveraged to reach out to the last person? Yeah.
Government is phenomenally working on these things. So there are a couple of infrastructure which government has already created. So those DPAs are also being used in and leveraged by ONDC to reach to the last mile. Let me give you an example. When we are talking about rural logistics, let's think about the India Post network in the country. It's there in the last village and they are providing courier services and all, right? It is just about if government can help integrating such services into the today's reality. It was built for something else, for a courier and certain things, but if it can be converted into the today's e-commerce reality where shipping packaging is little different, right? This is one part of it, using the existing infrastructure which government has already created. Second part of it is there are some programs which government is specifically running, like RAMP you mentioned, helping MSMEs to build the capacity. That's where such more programs if government can do at the last mile level. Currently, there are implementing agencies like NABARD is helping at the last leg of the country that how to go into entire supply chain of the produce to market, right? The similar sort of agencies we are working with, NABARD we are very closely working with, SFSCs we are very closely working with. Then there are NRLM, SRLM, state agencies. The idea is if these state agencies can be empowered in the today's reality rather than the legacy work what they are doing, that is also required, but in order to push the e-commerce, there is little different way, if they can convert these things into the different strategic vision and all, then ONDC and anything else can be promoted in the today's reality. And ONDC is the first of its kind in the world. It's nowhere in the world, anywhere, such sort of initiative being implemented by any government. So we have walked a little journey, a lot more too. So that's it.
Perfect. Some concluding thought from your end, Rajatji, in terms of, you talked about access and usage gaps in DPIs, right? But what exactly do you think need to be done in order to, reaching the next 500 million, as you mentioned during our discussion? Yeah.
Right. So I'll just continue from where I ended in my previous comment, which I made. The way we look at it, for example, since we just talk about credit, giving access to credit, maybe we can use alternate data. We can pull in data from various kind of other stacks. My colleague also mentioned around the agri records being now digitized and they can be accessed. So all this will make the ease of providing the credit. But I'm sure a lot of colleagues will agree credit is not only, it's easier to give, but harder to collect. So if you are solving a problem, you have to look at far more holistically. how you can create an infrastructure which can support the evolution of all the requisite elements to that to make it far more stronger. Because if your cost of collecting far more overpowers your cost of distribution, at some point of time you will have challenges where your access or your spread to your locations would get restricted. So that means effectively every Indian we have to get it on the savings. Every Indian savings account holder has to be enabled on UPI. UPI who's doing has to put on say UPI auto debit and so on and so forth. So the entire ecosystem has to come together to serve all these initiatives, which include the insurance being given to last, the credit being given to last. Since most of discussions happen around credit, maybe insurance is also a super pertinent issue because obviously if insurance is not there, your entire savings and everything get eroded in single row. Insurance, again, it's not about distribution of insurance. Does he get the trust in terms of claims? Does he get support with the policy? Does he get able to read the fine book? Until and unless all those larger elements, the all holistic elements are being solved, the restriction or the adoption will have challenges. A lot of things will then become push. Yes, for commercial angle, we are trying to build scale business, but the moment you bring a social angle, you want to create a larger social impact, that entire ecosystem has to be solved.
Thank you. Manjunath ji, Gaur ji, one last question which I had. This is something which I wanted to understand from you, since you have been a banker and then you have transitioned, you're still in the fintech arena. And you also have a focus on agri lending, I believe. What experience we have is Kisan loan or agri loan is something which is still accessible. The banks are able to meet their quota and all. But with this phenomenon of producer organization, FPOs, which is being very actively promoted by NABARD and SFAC and other organizations, lending to FPO is a challenge. And in my experience, fintech firms are still catching up to that particular idea. What is your take on how things are going to look, in the coming days, and how it can be, what are your suggestions to have a better coverage of these producer organizations and FPOs under the ambit of,
Yeah, being a banker, I say, unserved, leave it to the government. They are the government party. Underserved, yes, there is a scope to serve them, because unserved are the DBT customer. You are just trying to upgrade them. That will take some more years. If you put your hands, you're going to lose capital. So that's how, because DBTs are one-sided, given as a benevolence, right? We've been operating we have touched about 500,000 in the last 5 years, and all with somebody's money. What we are solving is the access to credit cost. And so I think previous panel spoke about timely delivery of, see, when you give money, when it's needed the most, that farmer is very thankful, is the intent, because you met his need, so he's going to bring it back. He's not going to run away. He's the most permanent customer you can ever find. Urban customer is not permanent like him. He's stuck to the land, stuck to the house, stuck to the community. He is not going to go anywhere, right? He might default, but he is not going to go anywhere. What we have seen is we have solved the accessibility problem, cost, and the turnaround times with no paperwork, zero paperwork, no touch, no paper, no branch, nothing. And multilingual, assisted, enabled model, self model. RBI kept asking many models like hybrid, self, assisted, BC model, branch model. I think they can just deliver the KCCs now. We have been asking the bank, can we do the next one? Can you bring the visibility of where the money is going? For example, Kisan credit card, say up to 2 lakhs, we are doing hypothecation only scheme. Where is that 2 lakh going is 40% has to go to imports, 40% has to go to the cultivation, 20% for storage and marketing. Who is looking at it? He's just declaring and taking the money away. What is he doing with the money? Nobody knows. Somebody spoke about CBDC. I think one of the NABARD person was speaking about CBDC. Can deliver that to the purpose. One is you gave out on time, least cost of access, you solved two problems. Third problem is making him behave better, use it for the proper purpose, brings the money back better. Again, DPI is not going to solve the collection problem. There is no DPI for collection. You have to go to the last mile. When there is no road, you have to collect the money, right? So again, there is government is standing for it, waiving interest, okay, subsidizing interest, waiving, trying to bring the better behavior by giving 3% subsidy. Even then, the money is not coming back. And there are 15-20% defaults happening. I'm just saying, let's solve this, treat him better, and maybe, money will come back. FPOs are solving a supply chain problem. Getting the input at a better price, because for the money that you have to get better quality inputs at a better price. Then storage, processing, and finding the markets. The farmer has a problem of doesn't have the problem of the produce, he has a problem of the income when the produce goes up, the prices come down. Is same. Like we say, nation has a security, food security, but farmer doesn't have the income security after so many years of government support and all that. APO is a good intervention for this purpose. They can borrow on their own. They can borrow for the farmer as an intermediary because their visibility is very high. I think they're the best models can be used. DPI, platform, all that we have done, FPOs will be another good agency to reach there.
Yeah. I think that is the point that I wanted to make. That is one part which is still still untouched, and that is something which can be looked at maybe in the near future. With this, we can conclude the session. We had a very insightful discussion across everyone out here, from regulated entity to technical support agency platform, and LSPs also have been here. And I think overall, we had a very fruitful discussion today. Thank you. Thank you. With this, we can conclude this session. Thank you so much.